Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Nazir Daf Samach Beis. We are on the second line. Ihachi ish ki yafli, neder be'erchen lamali. So this is basically a continuation of yesterday's Daf, where we learned as follows. When it comes to erchen, which basically means you're committing to give somebody's value to the Beis HaMikdash, set values determined in the Torah, the pasuk mentions the word Bnei Yisrael. So Bnei Yisrael will do erchen. That comes to be memai, to exclude the oivdei kechavim, the goyim. However, the pasuk does mention the word ish. Daber el Bnei Yisrael, v'amart aleim ish ki yafli neder be'erkecha nefashes l'Hashem. So yesterday we learned that although Bnei Yisrael is memait, the akum, the goy, but ish lets him in somewhat, connects him in some fashion. So although a goy can't perhaps commit, but a yid can use a goy as a subject, as the subject of his commitment. I'm going to give the erech of the oived kechavim. That works. That was one way to learn. We had this yesterday. Today we're going to see a couple of a different way of learning the same halacha. But in any case, ish is coming to bring him in somewhat into the parsha, into the din of erchen. The question is, why do we need the word ish stated in the parsha of erchen? Ihachi ish ki yafli neder be'erkecha. Be'erchen lamali, why is the word ish needed in the pasuk of erchen? Why not? Michti, let's analyze this. Ha'iskish erchen l'nedarim. We know that the parsha of erchen is connected by way of a hekesh to the parsha, the general parsha of nedarim, where a person commits and restricts and limits, etc. Where's the connection? The amakra. Ish ki yafli neder be'erkecha. The pasuk over here by erchen mentions neder. Neder, erchen, it's in the same boat. It goes together. And if that's the case, let's learn from nedarim over to erchen. Just like by nedarim, a guy can have a connection to nedarim. He can bring a korban by way of neder and nedava. So apparently, an akum has a shaychus, has a connection to these things. Although, before we begin the sugya, we're meant to know one very important thing. A guy does not have the isra of bal yachal devarei, which is only applicable to a Yisrael who commits, to a certain restriction, to a certain neder, a shvua. Bal yachal, don't violate your words, don't profane your expression. A guy doesn't have that, but he can donate a korban lemizbeach. So you see, he's allowed into this parsha. V'atanya gabe nedarim, we have a brisa by nedarim. The pasuk says, ish, a man will commit to bring a korban. Matam ish, why say the word ish again to include a goy? L'rabois es ha'oivdei kechavim shein noidrim nedarim u'nedavas ki Yisrael. They can commit and donate korbanos just like a Yisrael. If that's the case, once we know that a guy can be involved in bringing nedarim and nedavas, and we have that connection between nedarim and erchen, so then we already know that a guy has somewhat relevance to Pashas erchen as well. And therefore there's no need for a special word ish. Ish, ki yafli be'erchen lamali. Why do we need a special word ish to include the guy by erchen? Let's learn it from nedarim. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Ella, rather, as follows. Hi ish, the word ish by erchen, mibayle, is needed as follows. La'asuyei mufla samachlish. To tell us that even one who is not yet a full adult, he's samachlish, within a year of adulthood. He's only 12 years old, Yisrael. 12-year-old boy who is a mufla, which means he's cognizant of his expression. He understands what he's doing when he's making this neder. He can make a neder, despite the fact that he's not yet a gadol. Mufla samachlish. We learn this from the word ish, to include even this almost ish. that he's considered like an ish with respect to neder. Hanichel mandamar, this works according to the Shita, who agrees to this idea. Mufla samach lish is the iraisa min Torah. It works. Elul mandamar, who disagrees. This idea of samach lish is only the Rabbanon. Apparently, the pasuk is not coming for this halacha. So then, back to the question: ish kiyafli. Lamali, what's the point of the word ish in the pasuk of Erechem? Answer: although a mufla samach lish, if he's a Yisrael, he cannot make a neder, but if he's a goy, he can. Something startling. Le'isuya, to include mufla samach lish David kechavim. If he's a David kechavim, and he's 12 years old, and he understands what he's saying. He understands the value and the weight of his expressions, of his nedarim, it works. And he could commit to erchin or to the carbon, whatever the guy can do. He can do it even at this early stage, even if he's just a mufla samach lish. And everybody asks the Rishonim, the Tosfos, the Rav. I mean, Yisrael can't, and a guy could. And the answer given is yes, because a Yisrael, in a way, rises higher than the guy. He has bal yachal. He's trying to get to a higher point. Bal yachal commits him to his words. His dibur, his expression is binding. You can't violate your commitment. That's only by Yisrael, and that requires adulthood. When he has the power to really express himself in a committal, fashion. A Ovid Kechavim doesn't need to get to that point because he never gets to Bal Yachal. He can donate something, a karb, an erchen, but without Bal Yachal, without that personal, commitment, it doesn't really bind him. In which case, you don't need adulthood for that. Even less than adulthood works, as long as he understands what he's saying. As long as he's a mufla, even if he's within a year of the age where it would work by Yisrael, you need that. Chassam Sofer explains why, because he's learning, he's drawing from Yisrael. We're including the guy in the erchin or the nedarim, just like the Yisrael, and Yisrael only starts at bar mitzvah, so the guy can't start too much before that. It needs to be within a year, close enough to that point where it works by a Yisrael. So although a Yisrael needs 13 years old, a guy doesn't need that, because as long as he understands, he's cognizant, he's not trying to get to the point of Bal Yachel. As long as he knows what he's doing, he's mufla, understands, he's cognizant, he's aware, and he's close enough to adulthood, it works. So ish is coming to include the mufla samach li'ish of a guy. Says the Gemara, okay, this works. This works if you say that a Ovid Kechavim can in fact, be ma'arich, can commit to give a erech. So you say, okay, you can do it at 12 years old as well. That works according to Shitas. Rabbi Yehuda, there's a machlekes in the Gemara and Erechem about this. You see, we have a miyut, we have a riboy. Bnei Yisrael disallows the guy from Erechem. Ish includes him. Which way? So Rabbi Yehuda learns that he can be ma'arich, he can commit to give somebody his value, but he can't be the subject of the erech. One cannot commit to give his value. Rabbi Meir learns the other way around. He can't commit, but he could be the subject. So this whole solution that we found, that we include the guy who's a samach lish, that's only if he can commit, if he is included in ma'arich. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Hanichel mandamar b'nei Yisrael ne'erachin. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the words b'nei Yisrael, which excludes the guy, in terms of being a subject of an erech. L'mandamar b'nei Yisrael ne'erachin. A guy cannot be the subject of an erech. One cannot commit to give the guy's value. So he's out of that. Perhaps they can't even commit. A guy can't commit to give an erech of a Yisrael. That also not? No. Talmud Lemar, Ish. Ish allows that. Okay, so then if a guy can be ma'arich, then Shapir makes sense that we include even a mufla samach li'ish to be ma'arich. According to Rabbi Meir, who switches it around. He can be ne'erach, but he can't be ma'arich. He can't commit to give erech. Bnei Yisrael ma'arichim. Ma'arichim. He can never commit to give erech. And what about being ne'erach by somebody else? That he could do. So in any case, he can't be ma'arich. The only thing that he can do is be ne'erach. So then, we're including even a 12-year-old to be ne'erach? Well, you could even be a month old and be ne'erach. You don't need to be too old for that. You're not doing anything. You're the subject matter of somebody else's commitment. Even a 1 month old baby, Bari Ruchu, can be ne'erach. Kiyafli lamali. So why do we need kiyafli to include a 12-year-old? Amar of Adabar Av. I'll tell you what the word ish is coming to teach you. Apparently we have to find another application, right? Le'isui oid gechavim gadol. The afak of the gadolu. Einoi yedei lahaflis. So the way Tosfos explains it, a guy cannot be ma'arich, right? So there's no point in discussing at what age he can be ma'arich. He's totally locked out of that, right? So it's not needed for erechin, says Tosfos, so it's needed for something else for nedarim. That's a formula we apply many times in Shas. If you don't need a pasuk for this, let's apply it for something else, which is actually very, similar and close in nature. Erechin and nedarim are sort of connected, as we said before. There's a hekesh between the two. So, explains Tosfos. We know that a guy can be neither a korban, right? We said that before. At what point? By Yisrael, it depends on whether he's a gadol, right? Let's not discuss mufla samach. A gadol works, even if he has no clue. He's not totally on the program. He doesn't exactly understand what he's. Godless, adulthood, maturity, responsibility. His expression binds him. By a guy, it's different. By a guy, it's totally in cognizance, awareness, da'as, not totally in age. And therefore, says the Gemara, when the pasuk says ish, it's telling you that if he is a guy, even if he's a gadol, the afak of the gadol, if he's eino yodei lahaflis, if he doesn't understand exactly what he's doing, the Gemara Nida says it means he doesn't understand l'shem mi nadar, l'shem mi hikdash. Who exactly are we focusing on? Hashem. He doesn't have that clarity. It doesn't work. So the word le'isuye actually means to exclude, because we had one miyut, bnei Yisrael, as opposed to goyim, and ish is another miyut on top of that. We're including this case in that miyut as well. So even if he's a gadol, an adult, but if he's not fully aware of what he's doing, it doesn't work. He can't, commit to karbanis, etc. As opposed to a Yisrael, once he turns a gadol, done deal. Okay, continues the Gemara. We have another shaila here. We have another pasuk that seems to be extra. Elo ki yafli, the kasav rachmana gab nazirus lamli. The pasuk by Nazir says, Isha ki yafli linda nazir. Nazir l'Hadol Hashem. Now, Isha, that's not extra. The Mefarsh says we need it for the Isha and for the Isha, that they can become a Nazir. What about the words ki yafli? What's that for? He expressed. Let's just say he became a Nazir. Ki yafli the kas rachmana gab nazirus lamli. What's the point of this pasuk? Says the Gemara, Michti. Look, ha'iskish nazirus l'nedarim. We made that connection between Nazirus and Nedarim. It's a known fact that Nazir and Neder are all connected. We have actually a whole Gemara in the beginning of Nedarim about that, right? Because the pasuk says Ki Yafli Neder, Ki Yafli Linda Neder Nazir Lahazir. Nazir and Nedarim are in the same boat. So we know that a Neder needs to be with Ki Yafli. Pasuk says the word kiyafli by nedarim. So why does it have to say it again by nazirus? Kiyafli lamali. The answer is le'suye yodayim she'enan mechichos. So the way we have the Girsa here, it's coming to include even a partial expression, an incomplete sentence. Yadayim is like a handle to a pot, a way to grab onto the pot. So an incomplete neder or nazir expression, he just says, aha, I'm going to be, and there's another walking by, and we assume he means, I'm going to be like this fellow. It's yadayim, but it's not mechiches, it's not definitive. Says the Gemara, it works. The Itmars, we learned yadayim she'enon mechiches. Abaye Omar, have yadayim. It works. Rav Amar, lo yahav yadayim. It doesn't work. So our pasuk is allowing this type of expression to take hold, to commit him. Okay, so according to Abaye, who says it works, very good. The pasuk is including that. According to Rav says it doesn't work, then your pshat doesn't work. Ella, we found another application for the words kiyafli. Ella kiyafli, mi boile Rabbi Tarfon, the son of Yehuda Kessler, Mishum Rabbi Tarfon. We have a couple of people walking down the road, and they start betting against each other. Look, I see that person there. I'm telling you it's Reuven. I'll be a Nazir if it's Reuven. No, I'm telling you it's Shimon. Back. Rabbi Tarfon says nobody is committed. Nobody becomes a Nazir. You know why? Ein echad mehen Nazir lefi, because sheloi nitna neziros ela la'aflo. The words kiyafli tell us to commit to being a Nazir, it has to be with absoluteness, with definitiveness, as you're saying it. You can't just throw out an expression now and have it verified later. Okay, Hanich l'Rab Tarfon. So according to Rab Tarfon, very good. We have an application for the words kiyafli. Ela l'Rabbona Michael Member, according to the other shittas who disagree, who don't subscribe to this concept. So then, what's the pasuk for? Ela meboile l'kidis nan. We have another application based on a Mishnah in Maseches Chagiga. Heter nedarim perchen ba'aver. The concept of hataras nedarim, releasing a person of his vow, that's something which is not really clearly rooted in the Torah shebichsav. It's sort of fluttering in the air, it's floating around, it's Torah shebal peh. Ve'enlen al mashi ismechu doesn't really have a proper source in the Torah shebichsav. We know it from Torah shebal peh, it certainly works, there's a whole masechta about it, but there is no pasuk which describes it. Reb Lezer Omer, no, I found a pasuk. Yesh lema mashi ismechu. Guess what? Our pasuk shenemar ish kiyafli. Kiyafli shtei pa'amim. Twice we find the expression kiyafli, once by nedarim, once by nazar. What's the repetition about? To tell you, there are two ways of expression. Echad haflo le'isur, ve'echad haflo le'heter. You can express yourself and create isur if there's no hataras nedarim. Your neder stands. Ve'echad haflo le'heter. There's another expression which becomes mutter. By way of the chacham doing hataras nedarim, this is the source for hataras nedarim. Okay, let's just summarize the Yamid. We have three parshas we're going to discuss. We're going to focus on Nedarim and Nedavis. We're going to focus on Erchin and Nazir. The pasuk by Nedarim tells us, Ish, even a guy can bring a Neder and a Dava as a carbon. Once we know that, and we know that Erchin is connected to Nedarim, why do we need a Ish by Erchin to include a guy? That was a question we asked, and we had a couple of answers. Either Mufla Samach Leish, that even if he's not yet a gadol, it works. Speaking about either a Yisrael, or if it doesn't work by Yisrael, perhaps by Goya it will work, as we explained before. Or it's coming to exclude a gadol, she'eino yedei lahaflos, he can't be involved in committing for karbanis. Next question: what about kiyafli by Nazirus? That seems to be an extra pasuk, because it's already been said by Nedarim. We had pshat around about yodayim she'eino mechiches. We had a pshat about it needs to be with definitiveness as I'm saying it, or to provide a source for hataras nedarim. Continues the Mishnah. Chaymer ba'avadim mi benashim. So in the previous Mishnah we learned that an Eved, we're speaking about an Eved Kanani, who's owned by a Yisrael boss, and an Isha, they can both become a Nazir if they choose to. And in the previous Mishnah we learned that there's a Chumrah by an Isha, because he can't just force her to violate her Nazirus, unless he's made for the Nazirus, he nullifies it with the exact system and procedure of Hafaras Nedarim. Comes this Mishnah tells us, actually there's a Chumrah found by Avodim, not found by Noshim. Chaymer ba'avodim mi b'noshim. How? Shu mefer nidr ishtay. A husband could just cancel his wife's neder. Ve'enay mefer nidr avdei. He can't do that to the neder of his eved. He can force his eved to violate the Nazirus, as long as he's, under his jurisdiction. But he can't actually destroy the neder. So bottom line is, if he does hafaras nedarim by his wife, and he decides, I have a change of heart, it's too late, it's over. But by the Eved, even if he forces him to violate the Nazirus, it's like a temporary override. So as soon as he turns around and says, you know what, I'm okay with it, the boss does, and then the Eved is back on track and he's a Nazir. Another thing, how long does this intervention work? How long does it last? Hefer l'ishta, if he does the afara to his wife, hefer alam is, it's eternal, it's forever, because Nazirus is something which is restrictive. It's called inui nefesh, and inui nefesh can be nullified forever. As opposed to hefer la'avda, if he intervenes by the eved, that's a temporary thing, as long as he's boss. Yotze l'cheres, but if he goes out free one day, then it gets reinstated, gets reactivated. Mashlam Nazirusa, the eved has to go ahead and fulfill the Nazirus. So the Rosh learns that actually the Mishnah is mentioning two aspects of differences. First, what happens under his jurisdiction? Well, by the Isha, once he does Afar, he can't turn around and change his mind. By the Eved, he could. Number two, what happens after he leaves? So by the Isha, it's a done deal. The Nazirus is gone. By the Eved, it gets reinstated. Tana Rabbanan. Says the Bryce, Lama Rabbi Koifei. In what way can a boss, a master of an Eved, force him to go against, the Eved's commitment? Li Nazirus, only by Nazirus. Eved decided to be a Nazir, the master can override that. Avaloy le Nadarim, but not when it comes to other restrictions. I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat that. Ule Erchen, some take out Erchen and substitute the word Shvuos. So, other types of commitment and restrictions and obligations, Nadarim and Shvuos, the boss has no say on that. Why not? Why is Nazir different? The pasuk says, you're not the boss. He's the boss. Le'aser Israel nafsh. Actually, this is a pasuk by Nadarim, but Tosfos says we connect and we learn Nazirus from Nadarim. You have the ability to apply Isra on yourself. Al nafsh. That means you're the boss. When you're the boss, when you're in your own hands, then you can do all these things. It only applies to a person whose nefesh is his. Yotze Eved, as opposed to an Eved, you're in his hands, you're in the boss's hands, you're under the master's jurisdiction. She'ein nafshe knuyeloi, the Eved's nefesh is not his own. You have no ability to make Nazirus. Well, then Nadarim as well. So why is a Neder different? You're not nafshe knuyeloi, I'm nafsheshes. There's a reason. Hachav my skin was speaking as follows. There was a cluster of grapes sitting there. Now, Gaban Nadarim, if he would have restricted himself by way of a neder, this cluster is usher to me. That's a neder. That's not so bad. So eat something else. The chimitzar bahai, just because he's usher on this cluster, Loi Mr. Bachrini, he's not usher on others. Loi Mr. Beachrini, Loi Matzi Kafile, so the master can't have a say. Just eat something else and you'll be healthy and fine. As opposed to Gabi Nazirus, which is a broader Isser. All grapes, all wine. The chimitzar bahai, when there's an Isser on this cluster, Itzer Bekuli becomes usher on all grapes. And that will weaken him eventually. No wine, no grapes. So therefore, Matzi Kafilet explains why the Torah allows the boss to override that. And Tosfos says, it's all about svaris. If we have a miyut, it's mistaver that we apply it to something which makes more sense. And therefore, the Adain can interfere with the Nazirus and not with Nadarim. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? V'gab Nadarim. Suppose it was only a neder. Mile askidan, perhaps we're speaking the leka. Elohai eshka. Who says he has a full supply waiting for him? Maybe this is all he has, this cluster of grapes. If he won't eat this batch, chalish, he won't have the proper nutrients and vitamins. He'll get weakened. He won't be able to perform his work properly. Let the master interfere and override it. Ela Merava says Rava as follows. There was a chartzan, a pit, a great pit. Now we'll understand the difference between neder and nazir. Gaben Nadarim, if it's only a neder that he's making, Bayu the mitzvah, so that makes him usher on this pit. So it doesn't justify overriding. The Adin can't force him to eat it. He'll eat something else. Gabi Nazir, the Itzer Navi Bachrini, as opposed to by Nazir, when it's a comprehensive Isser, right? It's not just this pit. It's any grape or vine-related product. So that's really going to have a detrimental effect on his health. Matzi Kafili, that explains why the Adain can interfere. Asks the Gemara, well, and what about by the nether? Maybe we're speaking about a case where he's desperate. This is all he has. This is all he has to eat today. The localfile, all he has is access to this pit. If you won't eat it, chalish, he'll go weakened. So again, what's the difference? Elam Rabbi says Abaye. Let's turn around the whole sug. I'm going to reinterpret that Bryce. You thought it meant the boss can interfere by Nazir and not by Nadarim. No, just the opposite. Elam Rabbi lema Rabbi tzarich likfaisai. In what case does the master have to interfere? When is it required? L'Naziris. If the Eved became a Nazir, Rabbi has to step in and intervene. Otherwise, the Eved keeps the Naziris. But if the Neder is what he did, then Rabbi doesn't have to get involved. Same thing with Shvuah. It doesn't have to force him. It's automatically null and void. It never takes off. My time and why? Because by Neder and by Shvuah, you can't commit to something which will be to somebody else's detriment. You have no ability to do that. Torah doesn't allow it. By Nazir, yeah, we'll see in a minute. Taisa will explain for us. But by Nedarim and Shvuahs, nothing to talk about. And therefore, you don't have to actually even relate to it, Mr. Master. It's gone. It never takes off. My time with the Makra, the Pasuk says, by Shvuah, Lahara Alahitiv, he swears to do something bad or something good. We connect the two things. Two sides of the same, equation. Ma'atavarishos, just like in terms of a positive commitment, to give, to do good, we're speaking about something that's, in your ability to do. You have a right to do that. You can eat something, give somebody else a gift. Af hara, likewise, when we speak about something negative, a restrictive type of shvuah, rishus, it needs to be something which is in your control. Something which you have a right to do. Yatsa lahar la'acherim, as opposed to inflicting harm or annoyance or something bad to somebody else. Shein rishus biyada, you can't do that. You have no right to do that. An Eved who's restricting himself is doing ra to his master. He's weakening himself. He's interfering with his ability to do work. So these don't need intervention. They never take off. As opposed to Nazirus, explains Taisus. We have a Gemara back on Av Gimel. Nazirus can be applied even to something that's not really within your ability to do. It's not something which you have a right. Even a mitzvah, you can go against a mitzvah. Remember the Gemara of Gimel? He's supposed to drink this wine. He has a mitzvah to drink it. He can become a Nazir, which will preempt that mitzvah. So Nazirus works differently, in which case even an Eved can become a Nazir, but we learned from that pasuk before, from Nafshik Knu Eloi, that you're under the authority of your master, which allows the master to intervene. But he has to intervene. And then the Nazirus is sort of suspended for the time being, as long as you're still his Eved. Bottom line, an Isha makes a Neder or Nazirus, husband can be Mefer, and that's it, it's gone. An Eved becomes a Nazir. The boss can protest for the time being, as long as he's under his jurisdiction, as long as he owns him. It's an override over the Nazirus. When it comes to Nadarim and Shvuos, explains Abai, there's no need to discuss. It never takes off, because it is to the detriment of the master. Now, Avar Mikaneged Panav, says the Mishnah. Suppose the Eved ran away, took off. Now, the master had overridden his Nazirus, but he's no longer in his house. He left. He's back to Nazirus. There's no master. You got to keep your word. Be a Nazir. Rabbi Yesi says, yes. Yishta. You can still drink just as before. What's the machlekes? Lema, perhaps we can propose Bidish Shmuel Kamiflagi, this machlekes between Rabbi Meir says Lo Yishta. Rabbi Yesi says Yishta is dependent upon Shmuel's idea. The Omar Shmuel tells us Hamafkir Avdo Yotzel Lecher. A person makes his Eved hefker, renders him ownerless, abandons him. Yotzel Lecher, he goes free. You don't even have to write a get, a document, a shtar to release him. The fact that you abandon him monetarily, so to speak, you gave him up. So the Isser factor, the status factor of the Eved, goes along with the Mamain factor, the fact that you gave up ownership rights, that releases him completely. Financially, status-wise, he's no longer an Eved. You don't need to actually give him a shtar to release him, which is usually standard procedure. He's gone. He's no longer an Eved. He loses all aspects of Avdus. Now, in our Mishnah, the fellow ran away. We're assuming that the owner sort of gave up hope. He was miyayish, which is a form of hefker. Rameir Isli the Shmuel. He holds like Shmuel that that's it. It's over. He's no longer his Eved. And therefore, the Nazirus that the Eved accepted upon himself while still in his master's home. So sure, for the time being, it was overridden by the master's wishes. But now that he left and he's on his own, he's an independent person. He's no longer an Eved. The Nazirus gets reactivated. Don't drink. Rabbi Yesi Shmuel disagrees with Shmuel. No, he's still considered an Eved, even though financially speaking, I have no control. I gave up on him. But in the Torah, he's still considered an Eved, and therefore the boss still has control over him. And he's not a Nazir because the boss didn't want him to be a Nazir. Says the Gemara, no, you don't have to tie one discussion into the other. In concept, everybody would agree to Shmuel that if in fact the fellow was mafkir the Eved or miyayish from the Eved, he's totally free. We're speaking that he was not miyayish. The Eved ran away, and the owner still plans on getting him back. There was no hefker. So he's still certainly his Eved. So what's the question? Should I drink or not? Ella, Manda Amar Yishta, according to Rabbi Yesi, who says drink. You know why? Savar, he figures, it's all a ploy, wait to get him back. One second, we'll get to that in a minute. Savar, Rabbi Yesi holds, safe mahader hadar. Ultimately, the Eved will return. Police will get him back. Vasi gabe, he'll come back to the owner. Lishti chamra, so let us allow him to continue drinking wine to preserve his health, so that he doesn't get weak. Let's be fair to the master. It's just like he would be home. He's temporary, he's on temporary leave, but he'll be back soon. Keep on drinking that wine. According to Rabbi Meir, don't drink. You know why? We want to inconvenience, annoy this Eved, make it difficult for him. You know why? This will compel him. This will encourage him to go back to his master, where he can have wine. So it's just a sort of a ploy to get him back home. Okay, what did we learn today? A guy can be neider, nedarim, nedavis like a Yisrael, can make a carbon, neder, nedava. In terms of erechim, we have machlekes tanoim, whether he can just be ma'arich or just be ne'erach. We learned about yadayim she'enan mechichas, to those work. We learned about the requirement of hafla, has to be with clarity, with definitiveness. We learned about the source of hataris nedarim. The nazirus of an isha can just be nullified through hafara, and that is a permanent cancellation, as opposed to an eved, where it can be overridden temporarily while he's still owned by the adain. We learned that the adain needs to be moiche, needs to protest when it comes to nazirus, but by neder and shvur, Abaye says, well, lahara la'acherim, he's dead, he's harming his master, he's weakening himself, ein rushus biyadai, it never happens. And then we learned the machlekes regarding over mikeneged panav, the Eved ran away, should he drink or not? Machlekes tanai. Hatzlacha Rava and Besuras Tovas, all the best to you.